Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Will's Trust and More, and welcome back to Eileen, Kerlin, Walsh.
Thank you. Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Happy New Year to you, and
too.
I'm sure you had a busy holiday like everyone else has. We've gone through some real tough weather, temperature conditions, and hopefully we're pulling out of that now.
Yes.
And we're back in the studio, and Eileen is an attorney in Worth at 11301 Harlem
South
Avenue.
Harlem, correct.
And we're going to put her phone number at the bottom of the screen at the tail end of our show today. I wanted to talk to Eileen about trusts, and it's probably the most popular document to have someone carry on their wishes onto their family at a later time if they passed or otherwise. And so a trust, what is a trust, and can you guide the viewers and myself as to what is that document and how does it work?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ron. A trust is really a form of holding title. And sometimes trusts, what does it mean? The whole world of trust can be a bit confusing, but it's made simple if we think of it as simply a way to hold title. We all know that we can own a piece of property. We can own our home under our name individually. We can own our home as joint tenants or tenancy by the entirety, tenants in common. People become familiar with those terms. Trust ownership is just another way that you can own something. The trust becomes the owner and we become the trustee and the beneficiary. So trusts really are a form of ownership, and it's another way to have all the same benefits of ownership but the additional benefits of the trust. And when we create a trust, another way then to think of that trust is sort of as a treasure chest. So now we have transferred ownership of maybe our home, some of our accounts. We might have made the trust the beneficiary of an insurance policy. So now that trust is our treasure chest. And then we put our valuable things in there, and through that trust, through that treasure chest, we can have whatever's in the trust operate to our optimum benefit as well as to the best benefit of those who are going to be our beneficiaries.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question that I'm sure the viewers have. Could they make changes to that trust as time goes on, life goes on, changes happen in families?
Absolutely. As you said, Ron, these are a very, very popular planning tool. And they would not be so popular if people were locked in at any one point in their life. And people do trust plan at all the different stages of their life. So the most popular trust for our community that we write, that most estate planning attorneys write, is this living trust. And the living trust is amendable and revocable. In fact, they're often referred to as a revocable living trust. And that means that if at any time you want to change that title back to yourself individually, if you want to sell a property at any time, it can be changed and it can be amended. Our clients will often write trusts maybe when they have young children, amend it again when those children are grown, maybe amend it again in later life as they start thinking towards the end of life, maybe some final decisions. Mm-hmm. So these very popular living trusts are fully revocable and fully amendable at any time. And that is part of the reason that they are so popular.
Okay, and then the other question would be, are trusts really for the wealthy?
And that's a common misconception that trusts are a tool for the rich. They really are not. And especially here in Illinois, we have a terrific trust state. Trusts are very popular. We're a well-educated state as far as the use of trusts. They're accessible and fairly inexpensive compared to, and I know I have talked to you about this before, Ron, that Florida and New York are also very popular trust states, but there the trusts, the access to them is a little restricted because they tend to be very expensive. They're less expensive, they're very easily accessible, they're widely used, and therefore very, very popular. And the fact that they are relatively inexpensive to get in place is an important part of that process, that no one feels shut out just by the very cost of setting them up. And while there certainly is a cost, there is an investment both to creating a trust and transferring property into the trust. Ultimately, the trust has to make sense. And ultimately, not only does the trust take care and protect you during your lifetime, get things to whom you want them to go, the way you want it to go, to their optimum benefit. ultimately, the trust saves the cost of probate, both during life and guardianship and death-related probate after death. So the investment of a trust really comes back to the estate 100-fold in what the estate can save. So they're not a tool for the rich, they're a tool for many of our community have a very typical portfolio. Many of our families own their own home. Many have retirement accounts. They may have some insurance policies, CDs, bonds, IRAs, bank accounts. All of these make up that typical portfolio that a living trust is designed to take care of, to take title to, become the beneficiary of, and to help our clients both during their lifetime and to transfer the assets out of them. So by no means a tool for the rich, and a really good investment during lifetime.
And you've touched on this. It is to take care of minor children, disabled children, people in the family that are not able to probably earn a sufficient living to probably take care of themselves. It's all of those things and probably a lot more.
Absolutely. The trust itself, one of the big reasons that people know about trusts and want trusts is because they know they avoid probate. They know that if they get that living trust in place and get their assets retitled in there, they can avoid the guardianship, they can avoid probate after death, and that is a huge advantage. That's a good reason to get a trust alone. However, there are many other advantages, and you certainly, if there are minor children or grandchildren that we want to take care of, we can create lovely trusts for them so that we can decide what that trust is going to be used for, and it's in good hands until they're able to take care of it themselves. If there is someone in the family with special needs, oh gosh, what we can do with special needs trust to protect them, to make sure they can have their share of an inheritance without affecting any of the very valuable benefits they might already qualify for. We can protect our adult children. Often we think, if we're lucky enough to have healthy, competent adult children, we think, well, we can just then give them their money outright. But there are other issues. Sometimes we have to think about bankruptcy. We have to think about creditors. We have to think about predators. We have to think about divorce. Divorce is so common. And while for many parents, the children, their adult children, are the object of their bounty, they're not thinking about divorcing spouses. That's not whom they intend to plan for. So we can write protections. Those are called general needs trusts, where we can still get everything that we want to our children, but we can protect the money for them. There's just so many benefits and protections within the trust, and it's just a matter of knowing about it. If you know about a trust and the benefits of it and get it done in time, you can have all of this and more. So I'm just zealous about trusts and a terrific advocate for them because I know what they can do to help our clients.
Now, I know this is going to kind of go into some detail, but if someone created a trust and they were elderly, very senior type people, and their heirs were very adult, maybe senior as well, and they're concerned about the care of maybe someone being disabled in the family, and they could leave the guardianship to a professional person if they did not want the family to be concerned about that, could they not?
Yes. Within the trust, most of our clients are competent and healthy, and they're creating their trust. So they're going to be themselves. They're going to be the trustees. But a big part, as you allude to, of this kind of trust planning is that you get to choose who's going to take care of you and take care of your assets if you become incapacitated. So you get to choose those people. And while many people are going to choose their adult children or close friends or family members, not everyone is in that situation. So you can choose again now when you're competent, you can choose professionals. There are companies, and we have access to those companies and we use them because from time to time we have this situation. You can use professional trustees, you can name professional guardianship companies that are going to come in and be able to take care of those needs. And by doing this estate planning in advance, and we make the recommendation for those companies, our clients get to meet with them. We just had some clients that we had a professional trustee for the professional trustee came into the office to meet with them. And they had this wonderful level of comfort then knowing that even though they didn't have a family member to step in, the courts weren't going to decide who was going to do it, and they'd already met the person from the institution that was going to do it for them. So certainly the choice of those trustees, knowing that you get to choose it, and that if you don't have family or competent, healthy family members to do it, or someone in state, sometimes parents do have those healthy children, but know that they're out of state or out of the country or at such a busy phase of their life, they don't want to trouble them. That's where professional trustees are terrific, and they're a wonderful choice. Sometimes I think we might always recommend a professional trustee, but there is a cost attached to a professional trustee, and that's often what the family will avoid by naming their own family members if they're capable and local and up to the job.
Okay, we touched on probate. Now to go to step beyond probate, what about death taxes on the trust?
That used to, so we have said that avoiding probate is a big reason for creating a trust, and there are many, many other benefits. It used to be that avoiding death taxes or inheritance taxes was another big reason for trust, because there's a lot we can do within them. The good news for our community is that right now the exemptions before we have to pay estate tax are so high, most of our community do not have to pay them. And right now for the state of Illinois, it's over 4 million that an individual can leave. There are ways that we can double that for a married couple, and federally it's 5 million automatically doubled for a married couple. So when you're getting into fives and tens of millions of dollars, you really narrow down to a very small percentage of the community. Now, for those who are lucky enough to still be taxable, we go back to those tools that we used regularly 10, 15 years ago. There are certain kinds of, it's called an ILET, there are certain kinds of trusts that we can incorporate within the trust that will pay those taxes. Now, even if you don't have that high estate where you need to pay state or federal tax, sometimes there are things within your state that do trigger tax consequences, and if we look at those in advance, we can help with those too. A typical example would be some asset within the family that's very highly appreciated, like maybe a rental property, a piece of farm property, something that doesn't have the residence exemption, has had a huge appreciation, and a large capital gains tax is owed. We can really pull that down by tens, if not hundreds of thousands, by creating charitable remainder trusts or remainder trusts with annuities. So there are ways, if you do have one of those factors within your estate plan, that we can still save taxes. If there's a very, very large IRA or any kind of IRA within the estate that was a qualified plan that has a lot of tax deferred, we can work with that to still have the advantage of the trust, but make sure that naming a trust doesn't automatically trigger that large tax payment upon death. So there's still a lot of times that tax consequences are considered. We estate planning attorneys often work with accountants and financial planners that are part of the family's professional these professionals that they have. Often the estate planner, the accountant, and the financial planner will work together to make sure that we are all on the same page and that we do have the most favorable outcome. Not every family is going to need to sit in a room with all their professionals together, but if there are those particular circumstances after we take a look at everyone's assets that calls for that or calls for extra help, we will call it in. My office, and certainly many estate planning attorneys will take that whole picture into consideration. And we do, and I've said this to you before, Ron, we know it's hard to do estate planning. It's hard to face mortality, and it's hard to think about the assets and where they are and what the beneficiaries are. So often my clients say, oh, that's just the hardest part. We're going to have to go to all the banks. We're going to have to find the insurance policies. But this has to be done at some point anyway. And we hold your hand all the way through it. And we see those assets all the time. And we know exactly how that asset needs to be retitled, if at all, or how to do the beneficiary designation. And this is what we call funding when we do a living trust. The first thing we do is we meet with the client and we tell them what we would recommend for them. The second thing is getting all those lovely documents in place, but that's probably not even the hard part. Although that's not easy, The third thing that really needs to be done to complete the process is then to look for the deeds and then to look for the various accounts and make that recommendation and get that work done. Now, that is a process. We do hold your hand through it, but it's really important that it gets done. And I have to say, Ron, it is something that often gets neglected, and we're really, really tough on getting that done, because until it's all done, we haven't that nice, clear roadmap for the clients and for their families that they intend to get. So a living trust certainly is that little bit more involved than just doing a simple land trust for the home. Very well worth it. And this work has to be done at some point. And if we don't do it now, some guardian guided by the court is going to do it while we're incapacitated, or the family will be scrambling to get it done after death when it's too late. So, that comes down to the question that we always ask: what is the best time to do this? And of course, it's always now, when we're healthiest and competent and in the best position to do so.
Okay, Eileen, I have a question to ask you. When is the best time for one to have a trust? And I already know the answer. It means now. It means now regardless what your age is. If you're a senior, an older senior, a young person that just came out of college, that just got himself a job, just created a family, just got married, whatever that situation is, it should be right now.
Absolutely, Ron. Absolutely. Estate planning, the time is always now, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're younger, middle-aged, or older. Getting a living trust in place, we really do, it has to make sense. So we do want to see some things already in place. We do want to see maybe that some assets have been accumulated, that you do have title to maybe a piece of real estate. Now, many of our clients already own their home, maybe have their mortgage paid off. They can have out of state property, which is another real advantage to that living trust, because now you're avoiding probate in more than one state. But we do want the investment in a living trust to make sense. So we're looking for some kind of asset ownership, be it just a home or maybe some of those other typical assets that we talked about. For a very young couple, maybe just starting out, we still want an estate plan, but we might do what we call testamentary trusts within a will. So we'd start with a very simple estate plan with just testamentary trusts, but we still want the protection of those trusts. And then we typically move to the living trust, and that living trust can stay with you all your life. Just amend it as necessary, change it as your circumstance change, tweak it. Keep updating the roadmap. Remember that roadmap I always come back to?
Yes.
When you have these documents in place, you've taken that time to get the assets retitled, get the beneficiary designations updated, and get it all in one place. That's the thing that's most likely to change. But just remember too, when we create trusts, we have lots of succession language. So we're meaning these trusts to last for a long time. We're going to press you for not just trustees, but successor trustees, successor agents for powers of attorney, successor guardians for the children, so that if something does happen, there is a major roadblock or something big happens in your life that changes, or we do lose someone in the family, your first thought doesn't have to be, oh, now I have to change my estate plan. So we do design it forever, but we can change it at any time. And the right time is always now. Thank you, Ron.
Very good, very good. Eileen, thank you for all the information you shared with us and the viewers. And I want to mention to the viewers that you are a local attorney, you are in Worth, you're someone that they could come in and talk to. We have your phone number and your address at the bottom of the screen. My recommendation would be is this show has created a lot of thinking and interest and questions. They should really call you specifically about their situation, and then you just go from there rather than try to create something on your own. They should really talk to an attorney to give them the proper guidance.
Absolutely, Ron. And I've had many questions from our viewers, and we've helped many of the viewers. Sometimes we've just asked questions, sometimes we've made recommendations, sometimes we've written estate plans. So this does work. We do reach our community. They have questions, we do answer them, and we are available for their additional questions. So I'm always delighted to hear from you, and please do call me anytime.
Okay, well, we're going to be back in a few weeks with Walsh Trust and more. We'll have another very interesting topic for Eileen to address with us, and we hope that this helped you in some way, shape, or form. So have a good day.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron. Thank you.